Well, hey, Chris. Uh,
Hey, Kurt.
it's it's good to be together again. It feels like we haven't done this in a while.
Right?
We have, but it feels like it's been a minute. Uh,
Hmm.
Today, as we sit here, Chris, we've got some pretty exciting news. I feel like I've got some exciting news, and Brimstone has some pretty exciting news.
Hmm.
Um, as of the point that this podcast gets released, I am going to be entering into my last week serving as a campus pastor for the church that I've been serving in, uh,
Hmm.
transitioning out of that role after about 4.5 years and transitioning into a role that will allow me to give more energy and effort to Brimstone Coaching Group, um, which which means all the things, right? And we'll get into that.
That's for sure.
We'll get into that in a little bit, but I think maybe what we want to say is that this feels like some pretty exciting news for the life of Brimstone Coaching Group.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Do you want to hop in?
I do. Yep.
Okay.
Hi, friends. Chris Godfredson with the Brimstone Coaching Group here on the Brimstone Coaching Podcast with my partner and friend, Kurt Bush. And you just heard Kurt make a rather significant announcement. And I think you know how it goes, listener. Like, so we log in, we tell a story, and then like the preamble of the questions begins to roll, and we don't write these out ahead of time. They just come. One of our deeply held convictions and one of our values is curiosity. And uh, what's it like, Kurt, to have just said that into a microphone that will be broadcast all over the interwebs?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a little scary. I
Mm.
think I'm present to some mental models, and I don't know that we've ever defined mental models on this
Hmm.
pod. Mental
Yeah,
models are the ways that we see the world, right? The things that
yeah,
we believe about the world we inhabit. So there's some part of me that does hesitate even to say that out loud. Um, there's
sure.
I think I know those parts of me. I'm not sure that we have the time to go into those parts of me, but
Oh, I
uh,
think we might. True. Yeah. Hmm.
but I think the greater experience of doing that is it's just really exciting. Um, I think what's true is you and I have been working at launching Brimstone Coaching Group for about 6 months, maybe a little bit more now. Um, and I think what I would say is that I have been giving Brimstone all of the energy that I can give it with integrity while also holding a pastoral role.
Yeah.
Um, and and it feels like that Brimstone is at a place where more energy will help us take our practice to the next step. Um, that next step is going to require some more effort and energy that now I can put towards it, and we
Yeah.
can open ourselves up a little bit more to serve some people in different ways and in different
Mm.
spaces than maybe we could, a month ago.
Sure. Yeah. That that is exciting for sure. And as you engage in this last week, and as you've gotten to point of decision, that was one set of things, right?
Yeah,
Where you, and I imagine you and Amber had really deep intentional conversations about, well, here's the next thing, here's the move. Then
yeah,
you have a conversation with your kids, and I mean, leaders are finding out probably even before your kids did, and all of this stuff is swirling, right? And now it's public, and the time is drawing nigh.
yeah,
How has it been?
yeah. It's been a roller coaster. You've gotten
Do
a
you
number
like
of
roller
those.
coasters?
I hate roller coasters, Chris.
I know this about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I want this to be a space where I'll be as transparent as I can.
Mm,
You've gotten a number of those kind of roller coaster texts. I think what's true is I'm super excited to be able to give more time to this. And it's a lot of change. A
yeah.
lot of change and some risk, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's all
for
those
sure.
things. So how it's been is sort of an up and down.
Mm,
Um, I I believe deeply, Amber and I both believe deeply that this is the right decision. We've never second guessed the decision, and we have had some of those old moments where like this is going to just be really hard.
yeah.
Um, and that's just the internal processing of the decision and what that means.
Mhm.
Um, there's kind of a whole different set of feelings and emotions that have come up now that it's public and sort of entering into this last little stretch.
Mm. What would you say about the new feelings that are coming up? And, so here, let me walk that back just a little bit. And let me, if you will, let me tee this up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, we have, you talked about mental models, and one of my mental models, or as I would describe that, as one of my deeply held convictions, is a mental model, is another way of saying what a mental model is. And one of my deeply held convictions is that if we grow our capacity
Mm,
to manage ourselves and increase our tolerance for the emotional discomfort of another person,
yeah.
I think our reactivity is less. And as we've talked, in our most recent episode, like we're less activated
Mm,
if we're able to manage our responses to the emotional discomfort of others. And whenever news like this comes, whenever there's a pastoral transition in the life of a church, things swirl.
yeah.
And so as you're experiencing this now, and as people are expressing sadness, grief,
Yeah.
gratitude, um, how has that been, and how are you showing up in it?
Yeah. That's a good question. And I'm going to get to ask you these questions too, right? I know you're not
Oh, I don't
transitioning,
think
but
so.
uh,
Nice try. Of
uh,
course you
yeah,
can. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I like how you put that.
Mm,
Our ability to manage the way that we show up with others' emotional discomfort, or our tolerance for others' emotional discomfort. I think what feels unique about this situation is, um, I, I I think this transition has gone as good as it possibly could. I absolutely love the church that I'm stepping away from. I love the campus I serve. I love the people. I love the
mm,
staff. Like there's no part of me that feels any level of like, man, I have to get away from this place.
mm.
Right.
Yeah.
There's certainly been questions of passion and energy and focus, which is how we got to this decision. But there's never been an, oh my goodness, this place is the worst, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think anybody is saying that about me either. I don't think anybody is saying, gosh, we just have to get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Which is, I mean, yeah, because
which is
so often, I mean, in my previous experience in ministry, like I saw bad ending after bad ending after bad ending, then have to walk with people in the midst of their pain and their anger, their grief, their and all of the discomfort.
yeah,
And
yeah,
pastoral transitions of probably any transition in the professional world are the most challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that does make it feel a little different. People have expressed to me a level of disappointment, which, like, by the way, is pretty amazing that someone can say, "Hey, I'm disappointed." I mean, that feels like a pretty great
Yeah.
culture.
Yep.
um, to be able to have that conversation feels pretty good in itself. One person was vulnerable enough to say, "Hey, my initial feeling was abandonment." Um,
Mm.
you and I know this, and maybe some of the listeners do too, but this campus I serve, we've gone through a lot together, um, and it's been hard at times.
Yeah.
So there's some level of feeling, abandoned in a sense that I'm stepping away.
So
Um,
so so when that person says, "I'm feeling abandonment," what stirs in you?
yeah, yeah. So I'm a 9 Enneagram. I'm a
Hmm.
peacemaker, keeper, and I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
It is very difficult for me to disappoint people. Um, even when I know, hey, this is the right decision, this is the right direction, there is a stirring in me that says, "Oh man, I don't know that I can do this." Right? There's
Yeah.
a stirring in me that says that is not my intended feeling for you, and
Hmm.
the overfunctioning kicks in to say, I'd really like to take that, right?
Yeah.
um I'd really not like to be responsible for that. I'm not responsible for that, but the
Hmm.
the overfunctioning says, I bet I could get rid of that, you know I bet I could make
Sure.
that go away
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Hey.
today.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stay. I mean,
Right.
that's one way to do it, right?
Yeah.
But which would be a violation of who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you respond to that
um
person?
I mean, at first I said thank you. Um,
Mm.
and that 4 or 5 years ago, the version of Kurt that was present 4 or 5 years ago would not have said thanks for saying that. Um,
Hmm.
I do really appreciate the honesty of that person to say, hey, my first emotion was feeling abandoned.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I started with just expressing gratitude, but then I asked them, like, how are you doing now? What do you want to say
Mm.
about that? Um, I think I just want to hear it, right?
Hmm.
Um, which is not easy. Uh, but I think I wanted to understand. Um,
Yeah. And
not
so
to,
how did you get there? I mean, how so if I hear somebody say to me, "Oh, like first thought was abandonment," I'm like, "What? I mean, how?"
yeah,
And then like the 6-year-old Chris might want to come out, or 14-year-old Chris, or even 45-year-old Chris might want to come out. And friends, I'm older than that. Um, so like, yeah, how do you
well,
get there?
yeah, I mean, let's be clear. There was a part of Kurt that like internally, I'm thinking, you know, no way I'm not abandoning you. There is some
Yeah.
internal tension in me that wants to defend, that wants to say you shouldn't feel that way. I mean,
Mm,
I just want to be really clear about that. Like, this was not, you know, this was also not in the moment. This was a um this was someone saying after the fact, my first emotion was feeling
yeah.
abandoned, but now I blank. um
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know what would have been different in the moment if somebody came up and said, where the heck are you going? I'm not going anywhere. Why are you going somewhere? um yeah, and even in that moment, like, there was a part of me that wanted to defend and justify, because I
Sure.
don't because I don't want this person to feel discomfort or pain. This is exactly what you're talking about with the emotional discomfort of another.
Yeah.
I don't want them to feel that.
Mm, yeah.
um,
Because, well, why?
Because I care about this person.
Okay.
And I have a mental model. I have a mental model that I've held on for decades that says this is bad, right?
Mm,
That emotional discomfort or strong negative emotions are bad. Um,
yep.
what I know is true, what I know is true, what I want to hold on to, even in these moments where someone says you're abandoning me, what I want to hold on to is the realization that every one of these moments, that this is not a good or bad emotion. It is an emotion. Um, and Jesus is present in all of those emotions and wants to say
Mm,
something to all of them, and all of them are opportunities for formation.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
that's what I want to think. But what I think in the moment often is, I don't like that you're feeling this, right?
Exactly.
I don't
Yeah.
like that you're feeling it, and I don't want to be the source of it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
That's really good.
maybe.
Well, I mean, I think it's well said. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The disappointing piece is real. I think what we've said all along on this pod and together is that responses like this stir up in new ways, and we get activated in new ways that require new responses or new
Hmm.
tools or techniques. And I think what I've felt in this, like, gosh, it's hard to disappoint people, is that this is a whole new level, of feeling, of like reacting, that requires a whole new level. Like, I have to put tools in practice in ways I've not had to before, uh, because it's harder than it's been
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. I have a great question, I promise you. But this might be a good time to take a little break. And then
Yep.
I'll ask the question when we come back, if I can remember it.
I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, Chris.
This is the best pod ever.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I,
get you.
I feel like I'm asking a lot of questions. So, and you can ask me. I mean, I'll I will cease and desist here pretty soon.
Yeah, fair.
So, welcome back to the Brimstone Coaching Podcast. Chris Godfredson here with my friend, my partner, Kurt Bush. And we're talking today about this idea of um, managing ourselves and increasing our tolerance for the emotional discomfort of another human being. And Kurt is graciously sharing and answering my litany of questions on the other side of like dropping some news that he was going to make a career transition, and that impacts the lives of people that he has loved and cared for, and that love and care for him. And so, amazingly, through the course of the break and even through this rant, I still remember my question.
Way to go, man.
I'm so proud of myself right now. I almost can't stand it. Here's the question with no further ado. How didn't you just feel like taking care of that person? How do you
Yeah.
not take care of that person who says, like, I'm feeling abandoned right now? I mean, I love the fact that you said, huh, well, how are you feeling now?
Yeah.
What a great question. And like my go-to move is to take care of them.
Yeah.
How do you how do you not do that? Enneagram 9, Kurt.
Yeah. Um, here's my intellectual answer that I have to work to try to put into practice. I think I can care for them without taking care of them.
Mm.
And I think that's my goal. Um,
Mm.
I, I think my hope is, um, yeah, I think my hope is when someone says I'm disappointed or I feel something, I think I want to hear them and listen to them, knowing, I guess, number one, as much as I want to take away what they're feeling, I can't.
Mhm.
Um, and that maybe even trying to is just going to get in the way of the caring for.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
Wow. I mean,
that's the preferred promise that I take into these. And I don't do it like that's the what do you call it? The aspiration, right?
yeah. Yep. And like, yeah, you stop me in my tracks. I'm almost without speech.
Well, so can I tell a story?
Please.
So the first non-staff person that I shared this with was a leader that just means a lot to me. That has meant a lot to me over the course of the last 4.5 years. And um, I think this person would say that their immediate feeling was they felt devastated. Um, and I, man, like I don't know that I'll forget that feeling sitting across from them, hearing that, knowing that in all of that is this deep care for one another.
Yeah.
Um, I remember this feeling of like, gosh, I want to take that away so badly. Um,
hmm
and I can't, but I can sit there and
hmm
be with the person, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what would you want to say? I mean, I know that again, I know you're not transitioning into a different sort of career space.
Nope.
And I also know that you are not the same sort of people pleaser that I
Hmm.
am. That maybe tolerance for another's emotional discomfort is going to look quite a bit different for you. What would you want to say for those moments where someone might express their disappointment in you? What stirs in you? How do you sit in those spaces?
I typically say tough. That's too bad. I feel
and
bad for you.
and that's a wrap, folks. Listen next time. We'll see you next time.
Well, 100% tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Well, at least 98. Uh, you know, so Kurt, you're an Enneagram 9,
Yeah.
peacemaker, peacekeeper. Uh, I'm Enneagram 8,
Hmm.
the challenger. And what I would say about that is like the 8 on the Enneagram is often the most understood. And in health, like I go to the good, resourceful side of the helper
Mm.
and the kind one, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Mm.
so when people express disappointment or frustration or anger with me, um, I want to be curious,
Mm.
and often like I have to
Mm.
I have to catch my breath if if it's if it's anger or frustration in particular, right? Those things, because
Yeah.
there is this thing in me that deeply resists being controlled.
Yeah.
And so if all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to, if there's I would say like in the most challenging of relationships, like if there's an enmeshment or I'm all tied up and
Yeah. Yeah.
spun together with another person, like I have to fight against that with everything I have to be able to get to the place to ask questions or to just make statements. Okay. I hear, I see, oftentimes I see your frustration first.
Mm. Yeah.
Tell me more about your frustration, and try to just ask questions and take people down a path.
Mm.
I say all the time, like I want feedback.
Mm.
And so when I tell people that I want feedback and then they actually give it to me, I mean, I have to be open to saying, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like I did have, it wasn't all that long ago. In my pastoral responsibilities, in the course of this is 3 years in this role now for me
Mm.
almost. And I had somebody come to me and say, I don't think you like me.
Mm. Oh, okay.
I'm like, hmm? Uh,
Yeah.
say more
Wow.
about that. How have you experienced me not liking you? Is there more you can say? And
Yeah.
uh, surprisingly, I, I was pretty regulated. So we've talked about this, right? And I'm just like, it's fresh and I keep thinking about this where I think a key to uh, being able to manage myself in the midst of somebody else's emotional discomfort is to both be aware of my
Yeah.
typical ways of behaving because
Yeah.
they are often autopilot. I'll just
Yeah.
react versus or and then be regulated to the degree where so you referred to preferred promise. I haven't written one out for this kind of thing. I mean, when you said that, it's like, oh, duh.
Mm.
Uh, I should, I think I need to work on a preferred promise for how I
Mm.
deal with the emotional discomfort of another person. And yet
Mm.
in that circumstance, I felt myself managing my breathing
Yeah.
and de-escalating.
Yeah.
And a former mentor of mine would often, in circumstances like that, he would talk more softly
Mm.
as a technique, and then you would almost have to kind of lean in
Yeah.
to what. And I try to recall that all the
Yeah.
time so
Yeah.
that again, I mean, I'm a good sized human being. If I get bigger, um, that is not helpful. So
Yeah.
I feel like I need to get smaller. I'm not saying I'm giving up self in that. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is I'm trying to pull back the the largeness and try to just like I can take it. I can take
Yeah.
on I can handle your discomfort without taking it on. That's what I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
That's
similar
really good.
to the way you said I and I'm going to butcher it now, but like I feel like I can care for you without taking care of you. I think
Yeah.
that's how you said it.
Yeah. I like the phrase I can handle it without taking it on. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, that's
Well,
really good.
it's I mean, I think it's dance changing,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
the former dance would have been I would either argue with you and tell you you're wrong, your
Yeah.
thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. Well, those are wrong.
Yeah.
I like you.
Yeah.
Instead of, well, how are you experiencing me
Yeah.
in a way that is not likable? Because
Yeah.
now we can talk about that. Okay. Huh. Yeah, that happened. I'm sorry. And then
Yeah.
we do what we do. We get to the place of, well, will you tell me the impact on you of you thinking that I don't like you?
Yeah. Yeah.
How is that impacting your life? And we had a good conversation. Now, whether that's all resolved or not, I don't know. I haven't
Yeah.
gone back, said, hey, do you think I like you? Um, because the reality is I do. And um I'm I'm not gonna over function to the degree to convince you
Yeah.
something that you believe otherwise. And this
Yeah.
is, I think for me, is a key in this whole dialogue around oftentimes, you're talking about a transition, and I automatically went to like negative interactions,
Mm.
which I can give you another example here in just a minute. But in these negative circumstances, um, people often expect that I'm going to get in line with their thoughts or feelings or
Yeah.
anger or pain.
Yeah.
And then I'm all of a sudden going to be different or do
Yes.
what they tell me to do, or what have you, right? And I don't think that um now here's what I want to say. Like if that's true, like if something they bring to my attention is true, then in faith and trust, then I need to be able to acknowledge that and say,
Yeah.
sure, yep.
Yeah.
And then maybe I will, then maybe my behavior changes.
Right.
Otherwise, part of my ability to deal with your emotional discomfort is to get to a point where I can say, thank you for saying that, to your point earlier. Thanks for saying that, and for bringing it to my attention and having the conversation.
Yeah.
And we may just have to agree to disagree.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think that segues into another question I want to ask. Some of the times that we talk about this with people, or that I talk about this with people, some of the responses I get are responses that are some variant of this feels cold, or
Mm,
this feels like you don't care. And I think this gets at some of the um cultural norms that say,
hmm
no, we are going to take on each other's stuff. We are going to,
hmm
emotion match and fuse.
Yeah.
What would you want to say, or what would you say to someone that said, hey, I don't know about this tolerance for emotional discomfort. I think I want you to be uncomfortable with me.
Mm.
What would you want to say to that?
Well, tell me more about that. you know, uh,
Yeah.
why is it? What is it for you that makes you want me to get and feel the things that you're feeling?
Yeah.
Maybe we feel different things. Maybe
Yeah.
there, I mean, you're really teeing me up, which is pretty great. Thanks for doing it. I mean, listener, this was not planned, but this is another story. And I hope I haven't shared this previously. I don't think I have, but there was a season like in our baby's just transitioned back to her sophomore year of college, but eighth grade was hard.
Mm,
Eighth grade was pretty rough. And um, like there was a time when I was instructed to go across the street and have a
mm,
conversation with the dad over there to find out if he knew what was going on. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that.
yeah.
And normally there's well, feel this pain with me
Yeah.
and do what I'm asking you to do. And I
Yeah.
did for a long time, right? And so when we
Yeah.
change the dance and we say, uh, I I don't know that that's necessary. Uh, then the conversation ensued. Well, why is that necessary? And uh, what am I actually responsible for in all of this? And what do I actually have control over? Right.
Yeah.
And the reality is I wasn't, even if other dad became completely aware, not, I mean, very little is going to change. And,
Yeah.
and so like my responsibility then was to help our, whatever, 13-year-old understand herself a little bit more, and
Yeah.
to not even take it on as
Yeah.
she was feeling it, right? And these things are super hard when people we
Super hard.
love
Yeah.
are hurt and feeling,
Yeah.
violated and are in pain. And yet, like to you've used this line before, but to be able to get up in the balcony and look down on the system and see what's happening, for me, that's everything.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then I can get to my thinking processes. I can even go to my gut that normally tells me better than my brain, um, how I should react,
Yeah.
rather than letting my heart dictate all of my behavior. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where I don't, I don't believe that I'm a cold, uncaring person. What I think I am is become increasingly emotionally and spiritually mature, is that I mean, if God gave me anything too, this is also true. If God gave me a gift, I think it's discernment. Like
Mm,
I can see the forest for the trees, and I can see where, oh, that's a bad idea. And
yeah.
I'm not going to do that because that's just going to make matters worse. But to get to the point where I could have a conversation that was where we were able to like actually talk about it and not give up self by like just going and doing what I'm being told to do in the midst of it, um, is is challenging because it changes the dance for the other people involved in the scenario, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but um, it's it's so necessary to make fewer messes. I think I don't know. Now I'm
Yeah.
spinning, but
Yeah. Um, I wasn't teeing you up for that, but I love that we had this like tee up chemistry even when we didn't. Like we're really getting good at this.
well,
Um
maybe,
uh I
and
think
maybe
here's
I
a
didn't
one.
answer your question at all.
No, I think you did. And
Okay,
here's what I want to sort of circle back and say, and I want you to tell me if I was hearing you even remotely close.
okay,
I think what I want to say and what I think I was hearing in you is that when we can build our tolerance to bear other people's emotional discomfort, it actually allows us, especially in that example you gave about going across the street, it actually allows us to care better, more deeply with our best thinking,
yes,
um, than that initial sort of emotional response. Say, okay, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to do a thing. I think maybe for me it's a difference of like short term gratification to long term growth, right?
mm,
One of those responses does something right now and feels good right now, but the other way of being is actually more beneficial, more fruitful, and actually cares
mm.
more wells, not not the right word,
There's
cares more
Weller.
deeply, Weller,
Yeah.
uh,
Uh,
cares more deeply and more authentically in the long run. Is
I
that
really
fair? Do you want to
appreciate
push on that?
I really appreciate the way you said that because I would say it similarly. Uh, there's a little short term hurt, but not long term harm.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah,
because now I'm not doing for somebody else what I think they can do for themselves.
yeah. I'm gonna
And,
snap. I'm snapping on that
well,
one.
I mean, and that's ultimately, I think our when we get activated and when we're stirred up and somebody else is coming and saying, "Oh, I'm feeling like you're abandoning me, Kurt." Well, now I'm going to come and I'm going to take care of you
Yeah,
when the better then the better response from my perspective is one that helps them process and think through their discomfort in such a way that when they feel it again, they can stop themselves from doing that and say,
yeah,
"Oh, this is what Kurt taught me when I was feeling like when I had that initial feeling."
yeah,
I, and I would say for so long, I would take on
mm,
I would take on other people's emotional discomfort and I would get into action and that, we've talked previously about the difference between over functioning and under functioning, and then under
yeah,
functioning takes over for that person, and I've and who am I, Jesus? I mean, am I actually going to fix that?
right.
No, I
That's
can't.
right.
Right. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
there's something in me, right, where there's a fear that if I don't meet your emotional need, well, that would be connected to a negative vow, right? That you're going to
yeah,
think or find out that I suck. And what's
yeah,
actually true about that is no, uh, I don't. I do care about you, but because I care about you, I'm going to continue to try to help you think and uncover why it is that you're so experiencing so much discomfort right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
And
think about your story. Sorry, I totally cut you
mm,
off.
you're good. I
Um,
had nothing more to say.
I think about your example with the person that said, "I don't think you like me." I
Hmm.
mean, I think the posture that you said that you took, the posture of being curious, I think that's really, really caring well for a person, for another
Hmm.
human being. But what you said of like this sort of taking on this discomfort to say, okay, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to show you how much I like you. I'm going to change my behavior so that you know that I like you. I don't think that's really caring well, right? I mean, I think that's such a
No,
good example um, of helping someone understand through curiosity what's really maybe coming up under the surface. I think it just feels like such a profound thing when we think about
well,
emotional discomfort.
yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, now I want to come up with examples of how I blew it, right? I mean, because I do,
I
right?
mean,
I
I mean,
blow it all the time.
same. I think we say every podcast we're
We
not doing the
do.
thing where we're not doing the
Yeah.
thing where we say we're impervious to messing up. We are
Yeah.
not. We mess up every day, right?
No, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And for every one person that's told me that they're disappointed or have some level of disappointment or sadness, for every one that I respond to well, there's another one that hurts a little deeper, is a little harder, that
Yep.
I don't respond as well to. So
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think you're saying the thing.
Well, I went through a transition a few years ago, and I transitioned into the role that I have now, and I left a job that I'd done for a decade.
Mm,
And in that role, like I built some meaningful relationships.
yeah.
And um, I did have somebody who had the nerve to tell me that they were angry at me,
Mm,
and it hurt. And I didn't know what to do with that. And uh, I just I tried to be curious, but it was half-hearted
yeah. Yeah.
because it stung.
Yeah.
And we have since talked through those things and have worked through that. But I mean, it sometimes it it catches you, and so I think like my counsel to people, if since you asked,
I did,
like
and I will.
I mean, I think the encouragement is when it stings or you're caught off guard, is rather than doing the thing that I normally do, um, I wish that I had just said, "Oh wow, that's a
Mm,
lot for me to absorb right now.
mm,
Uh, I want to think about that, and I'm not going to respond to you in my
yeah.
out of my best thinking right now. Let's talk in a week.
Yeah.
Thanks for the bomb, and now I don't know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
but here's what I want to say. Like in that transition, like a lot of relationships changed,
Yeah.
and a lot of and I just am not in relationship with a lot of those folks anymore. And
Yeah.
to a degree, that sucks.
Yeah.
Um, and I haven't
Yeah.
done a lot to repair those things, and neither have they.
Yeah.
And I think that there's probably a time coming for me where I go and I ask the impact question
Mm,
with with the I'd say probably a handful of people where I really care about those relationships. There were other, more loosely affiliated things that,
yeah.
and then there, and maybe it was just a matter of, he's gone, who cares?
Yeah.
But maybe there was some emotional discomfort,
Yeah.
and I'm unaware, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a little bit of work I could do, but at least that particular person had the
Mm,
courage to say, I'm mad at you,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
this sucks. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have one more question to ask you. But this feels like a good time for another quick break. So let's take a little break. We'll come back. I've got one more question for you. Okay, here's the question I want to ask.
Mm,
I'm not gonna spring it on you.
okay,
Uh
good.
I'll give you 30 seconds. Um What about this question? How do we know the difference between not taking care of someone versus under functioning? Like, can those things
Hmm.
disguise themselves as the other? Does that make sense? Like, how
Yeah, I
how
think
do
so.
how do you know that you're allowing someone, to do their own stuff and not taking on their stuff? How do you know that that's the case and you're not just under functioning and actually missing something you're responsible for? Does that make sense?
I think so. I'll try.
Is that a
And
fair question?
I still will hem and haw a little.
That's fair. Um, and
Sorry
you
about
can,
that.
and I'll wait to tee it up till you tell me you're ready.
Yeah. LaCroix. That stuff is ass, bro.
Raz
No,
cranberry.
that is the worst.
No, it's great.
False.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I can create a little emotional discomfort in you. Um,
Okay.
anyway,
About my LaCroix.
yeah.
Good luck.
Okay, let's go.
Maybe
I'm
that's the
ready.
episode. Maybe the episode is let's see who can make the other one crack first.
Or cry.
Yeah. I promise you it's gonna be me.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
cry. I'm gonna cry first.
I'm, I'm emotional.
That's
Anyway,
fair. All right, you ready to go?
I think so.
All right, listeners, welcome back. Yeah, just again, I'm Kurt. I'm here with my friend and partner Chris. Chris, I have one more question for you as we think about this idea of um, building tolerance for the emotional discomfort of others. And here's the question: we've talked about under functioning in many episodes before, and under functioning is when we don't take responsibility for something we're responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know that we're in a space where somebody has some emotional discomfort and we are appropriately and in a healthy way um, not taking that on or understanding where our responsibility ends and theirs starts? How do we know that we're doing that well versus under functioning and just maybe not taking something that's ours? I'm not sure that was super well worded, but how do we know when we're doing it well versus just under functioning?
Great question. And stump the chump. I love when we play this game. I'll get you. I'm gonna get you one of these days.
You will.
Yeah, it really is challenging.
Yeah.
Um, one way that I think I would answer it is probably not the only way, right? But the way I think I would answer it in the moment is um, motivation.
Mm.
What
Yeah, keep going.
what's my motivation in not engaging or not taking it on?
Yeah.
I think there certainly are times when I just don't want to do something,
Yeah.
and then I will not do it, or I'll say anything to get out of doing it. Right? There's a degree of not taking responsibility in that. And then the difference, I think, for me is if I've identified that this is not mine to do, but it's yours,
Yeah.
then I would want to have a I would want to just keep dialoguing about that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Kurt, I think it's like a really bad idea for you to drink raspberry cranberry LaCroix.
I knew you were gonna get this in here.
I mean, I think it's a terrible idea because that stuff tastes terrible and it's going to have a negative impact on your entire system.
Thanks for saying that.
Sorry. Um, I think that's one of the ways
Yeah.
is around what and I think it's well, I would test this a couple of ways. The first way, I think, is like, can I actually square this in my heart and in my mind?
Mm,
And am I in integrity and in alignment with who and how I believe I've been created to be?
yeah.
Um, on my best days, I would answer that question.
Yeah.
And I think the Spirit of the living God would either bring conviction or allow freedom.
Yeah.
Um, on another way that I would test it is with my spouse.
Mm,
Because often she knows me better than I know myself. And
yeah.
she will be honest about that. And then a third way that I would test whether or not I'm just avoiding responsibility, or if I'm actually um, like appropriately letting you have, take your own responsibility, is I would talk to you or another coach to say, here's the situation, let me lay everything out for you, and this is what my decision was in this scenario,
Yeah.
and I'm not willing to, this is what I've decided, I'm giving my word to myself, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And then a wise trusted guide or friend will, I will listen to.
Yeah.
I won't listen to everybody. I will say that. I mean, I will be that honest.
Yeah.
But somebody else who understands the work, what I'm talking about, I would be open to feedback and pushing
Yeah. Yeah.
about that. Chris, no, that's actually yours, I think. And then I was,
Yeah.
well, why? And or bull, it's not. And we
Yeah.
duke it out.
Yeah.
And
Metaphorically, of course.
of course, of course, across Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really
Is
good.
that helpful? I mean, how would you answer your own question?
I don't know. I asked
You're
you. That's
welcome.
why I asked you. For the listener, I asked the questions I don't know how to answer because I want Chris to answer them.
Well, you are always supposed to be ready and willing to give an account for, I mean, an answer for the question that you
Wait
ask.
a second.
I
I
felt like
yeah.
I felt like what was his name, Mike Pence. There, I almost invoked scripture with a question or some other thing.
I think you pulled that from First Hesitations. Is that correct?
That's great. Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can
I don't
skirt
know,
that
man.
one. It's not necessary to answer.
Well,
Like, we've been at
here's
this for a minute now, but I would love to hear it.
here's what I wondered. I don't know, and here's I heard this in you, so I'm gonna regurgitate back. I think
Mm,
what I've wondered about when I think about answering this question is, am I assuming a posture of curiosity, or am I responding out of a default? Right.
mhm.
Like I think curiosity leads to a principled decision based on our level of self-awareness of who we are in Christ,
Yeah.
and who we're created to be. I don't know that I have any more to say, but I think I heard some of that in you and
Mm.
in your answer, and maybe that's what I'd been wondering is like, is it about genuine curiosity versus a default? And I mean, that gets into a boundaries conversation around principled decisions,
Yeah,
but
for sure. Yeah. This is what
yeah.
I'm willing to do and what I'm not. Right. And I think if I can like try to put a bow on some of this, um, like it has required me and us, I think I can say us, uh, a fair amount of time and energy to understand ourselves pretty deeply, to be able to have someone else um, name, you know, uh, both gratitude and pain and anger for your decision to transition out,
Yeah.
to deal with, somebody saying, I don't think you like me. Any response that is, I think, healthy and thoughtful requires a deep understanding of ourselves
Yeah.
so that in order that we don't do the thing that we always used to do. I think that's what I want
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
And it's only because of people like you, Ken Schumann, Jim Harrington, Mike Hardiman, Brian Keepers along the way, where Jamie Dykstra, people who ask me deep, thoughtful questions about how it is that I'm showing up in the world and how do I want to show up in the world,
Yeah.
um, and understanding why I didn't or don't show up in the world the way that I was created to and the way that I want to. It's only in exploring and plumbing the depths of all that that I can deal with your emotional discomfort or anybody else's.
Yeah. Yeah. That
and
is,
and it's worth it.
yeah. Yeah. Why?
Be, because I think in the midst of it, then like I don't have to become fused and I don't have to take it on. I
Yeah.
can handle it, but I
Yeah.
don't have to take it on. We can journey together and you can take responsibility for the things that are yours.
Yeah.
I think that that's empowering.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I would say. And I think it's disempowering when I get into action and get into it with you rather than allowing you to work through your own discomfort,
Yeah.
as as unpleasant as it might be at the time.
Yeah.
There's a long-term benefit to going through the work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so good. That's so good. You started before I hit record, you said something. And I'm gonna try to tee you up without stealing
Oh
your quote.
no.
You said
That was like
something
45, 50 minutes ago.
I know. You
I
said
got through
something
a
to the
commercial break and remembered a question. And if I keep talking long enough, you're going to forget this one.
no,
Anyway,
no,
ask the
no.
question.
Well, not a question.
Or,
You said something that I want you to say on the pod.
mm,
Um, you you said really genuinely, imagine something to the effect of, imagine what the world would be like if we all
oh,
increased our tolerance to bear to bear other people's emotional discomfort. Um, I just want you to say like a little bit more about
I
that
think you
because
just said it.
I know I didn't want to do that.
Good job.
I didn't want to do that because you said it. You
Well,
said it, and I think it just got so well at this idea of why Brimstone exists
and,
is that
and, and I don't know that it was even, I mean, I don't even know that it's mine to say. I mean, but the wondering that I have, right? The reason I think that we believe that this is so important is that um, we can't the the America that we live in cannot live in difference.
yeah,
And I I um, long for the day when people um, can still be in relationship with somebody who sees the world completely differently. I was just in a coaching conversation with somebody before we began to record tonight, um, and we talked about this, like the polarization in the world is
mm,
so great and so dark and stark
yeah,
that I think a lot of it comes from the place of not being able to tolerate somebody else's emotional discomfort. I'll
yeah,
cancel you before I will uh,
yeah,
handle or deal with your discomfort. And
yeah,
I don't think I mean, and it happens amongst people who say that they are Christians.
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And that I don't think is a representation of Christ, or the kingdom of God. And so
Yeah.
if that's true, if I'm right about that, I think the scriptures are always pointing to the fact that that uh, God's intended design would be shalom,
Yeah.
and I think shalom comes. I think we help usher it in when we don't take on what is someone else's to do, and I think the
Yeah.
world would be vastly more fun to be a part of and to inhabit if we're not if we are um, able to just sit in those things and be with people in them, but not
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah.
Now, I
Yeah.
don't know that that's anything at all what I said before we logged in, but
Yeah.
it's one of the things I think about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess I started to say, I think this is what I love about that comment is like, this is why Brimstone is Brimstone, that we've just seen the work that we've done in ourselves impact the circles and the spheres that we're
Yeah.
in.
Mm-hmm.
Not because we're God's gift to those places, but because transformation breeds transformation, you know?
Mm.
So I think when you said that about others' emotional discomfort, it just really struck a chord in me to say, yeah, like this is it. This is it for the sake of the
Yep.
world, for the
For
sake
the
of the
sake of
world.
the world. Exactly right.
Yep. Yeah. What else do you
Thanks
want to say
again
to wrap?
tonight. I don't know. I've got nothing else. Uh, I am out of words. It, yeah, I think we need to cut up right before that. Um, and I think we should do our wrap up.
Yeah, I'm
And I
gonna.
need to find that because I had to
Yeah,
restart my computer.
I know that was one of my
So
tabs.
all my tabs are gone. Well,
all
not all
all
of them
like
because I got some of them back today.
you restored them.
I
Uh,
did. I'm
do you
I'm
use Google
reloading.
or do you use Safari?
Yeah. Well, I use Safari. I use both Chrome and Safari, if I'm honest. It depends on what I'm doing.
Yeah, I use
Um,
some Safari I use because it saves passwords.
what is this called? You
Is this
remember?
the updated updated something or other from Chad?
Mm. Oh, so that might be in an email, not in the drive. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at Drive too, but I think it might actually be in an email.
Yep. Updated. I just searched that and I think I'm there. It is a Google Doc, but it's also, yep. I got it if you do.
I don't have it just yet.
How about I do your part and you do mine again?
Okay,
Because then I can say that. Did you find it yet?
it's loading right now. Loading.
Loading. I need to go print those freaking books
Are you doing? Where are you doing those?
in my newspaper.
At Love? Are you still loving?
Yeah, we're ready to paint, but we haven't had any time to paint. Coming?
No. What's the date?
Uh, June 7th.
Oh, there it is. No time to paint. I mean, that's pretty. It's pretty wild that you're painting already.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's gone really well. We could have been painting last week, but we had kids
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
yeah. You
Ready when
ready?
you are. Yep.
All right. Yeah, I think I just want to say, I think the last thing I would say today, Kurt, is thanks for the conversation. And thanks for joining us, friends. If you're feeling overwhelmed by anxiety, struggling to meet expectations, or simply are exhausted from trying to keep up or even to manage the emotional discomfort of another human being, Brimstone Coaching Group understands. We get it. And we're passionate. You've heard it over the course of these last few minutes. We're passionate about helping you understand and to navigate your way through these challenges. And we want you to know that it starts with a free initial coaching call.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. We have said this before, but we want to say it again that we offer tailored coaching sessions, whether that looks like a one-on-one coaching relationship, or if it's more of a collective group coaching. We offer those solutions. We also offer corporate coaching. And all of that, even if it's not a one-on-one sport, all of that begins with a free coaching call so that we can help map out your path forward.
Yeah, for individuals, our packages come in 5 and 10 sessions. We believe deeply that groups can benefit from our structured coaching as well, which is perfect for athletic teams, for boards, for any group of people, because we can help you to show up authentically and perform as your best selves.
Yeah, so if your organization is looking to create a healthier, more authentic workplace, our corporate packages focus on managing anxiety and fostering authentic engagement, which we really do believe helps ensure that everybody within your organization can thrive.
So sign up today on our website for your free initial coaching call. Discover more about how Brimstone Coaching Group can support your transformation at brimstonecoachinggroup.com. Again, sign up today, friends, for your free initial coaching call at brimstonecoachinggroup.com. We're ready to engage in the journey with you.
Cool,
Cool.
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 Let me hit stop and we'll